Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Behind the Mic in our beautiful Music Town studios here in Hockeytown, second floor of Hockeytown in downtown Detroit. And as we do each week, bring in musicians and talk with them, hear some music. As you can see, it's full today. Another local band filled in. I was thinking one of the last times we had the most, but this might be. I should have counted. I remember last time, but we have a full room here today. So sound check sounded good, and so welcome to Ryan Neal.
Thank you so much for having me, Pam. We appreciate it.
Absolutely, you and the gang, obviously.
Yes, of course. Decided to bring along my friends for today and have some fun.
Yeah, well, a few of these guys were in here just a few weeks ago. So
Exactly.
as I always mention, there's so many times musicians kind of share each other as far as playing an instrument or whatever. So Is this the normal group that you have when you do your music?
Not at all. So I'm technically a solo artist. So
that's what I thought when I walked in. I was like, okay, wait a minute.
Right. But it gets kind of old playing by yourself all the time, and all of the songs that are on the album are fully produced with drums and bass and all that jazz. So I figured I'd bring all my buddies and try to replicate it as best as possible.
Oh.
So.
All right. Well, good. Well, thanks. And welcome all you guys. So when I, found out about you and, it's like, okay, solo artist, I'm thinking the keyboard and you and, here we go. But do you do more with the full group when you're out live or just more solo?
I would say now more solo.
Okay.
Between myself and keyboard or guitar, and then sometimes I'll have like Rick play with me a couple weeks ago, filling in on bass and vocals. Sometimes I'll have a trio, 4 people. It all depends. But this is the most I've played with thus far. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, little experiment here.
Oh, may as well do it here. What the heck,
right?
See what happens. Well, the sound check sounded good. So,
Thanks.
So you guys don't generally play together, so
not in this form.
Okay.
But, yeah.
These guys are in two-horn section. Chris and Dave and Rick are in Strictly Fine.
Right.
As you know, they played here a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
My buddy Mateo is from Canada, so he swung over this morning from Windsor. I met Oscar last week at Rick's house.
Seriously?
Yep.
Yeah. Oscar has been mentioned on this show. Actually, Nate Jones dropped a little plug on Oscar's guitar playing and stuff. For Athens Creek.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then my buddy Reggie, I met him probably a couple months ago through Rick's suggestion as well. He played with me on St. Patrick's Day for a gig and killed it, so had to have him back.
I love that. It's like, well, hey, I got this buddy can do this for you, whatever, and just throw in another piece of it to make it sound different or whatever.
Yeah, this is pretty much mostly Rick's brainchild. So,
Rick's the plug.
I mean, Ryan.
It's all your fault, Rick.
Well, Ryan came to me, recently after he finished his album, and he's like, I love these songs, and I put a lot of work into these, and I want them to be represented well when we play live. And so, a couple times when he needed guys for gigs, he said, "Do you know any drummer that can bust some harmonies?" And I'm like, "Reggie's the guy." And so, and we kind of we were introduced to the Strictly Fine guys with Ryan because he was, coming out to some of our shows, and I've known Ryan since high school, actually.
Yeah, play basketball together a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Rick was always dunking. I thought that was cool.
Yeah. He was throwing me oops. But we called him the real deal Ryan Neal back then from his basketball skills. And then I didn't even know about his music skills.
That's been my nickname since, I don't know, 3rd grade.
I still call you that.
But yeah, a lot of people do.
Got to live it every day. Real deal Ryan Neal, baby.
Right.
Well, you've been sitting since I've walked in, so are you really tall or no?
No,
okay.
No, not that tall.
Okay.
No.
He's got that J, though.
No. He does.
Yeah,
He does.
What do you, when you, it's like you can only invite so many people to join you. I mean, pretty soon as you got to say, okay, I have enough people in my band, I mean, it can go overboard, I would imagine.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of times, it comes down to just who's available. I have a gig coming up on the 31st, and just so happens that that's their album release party show. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to try to finish up my gig and swing out to Ann Arbor and check that out because I really want to see them. I've seen them live, I think 3 times now. It's always a party. It's a blast.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate that it falls on the same day. But
Yeah, as you found out.
Yes, I found out, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So it's just a matter of who can do what when and
Kind of logistics,
yeah.
really.
well, and sometimes, I mean, sometimes less is more too. Not saying this is bad, but I'm
Yeah.
just saying sometimes it's like you see a band, and these are more established. They do something, you'll see it on TV or whatever, and there's like 20 people. It's like, really? Do they need that many?
Right, right.
I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. And, and the thing with like Chris and Dave this morning, we never rehearsed at all. And so I sent them the tracks, I don't know, a few days ago, and they walked in this morning. I'm like, so what are you guys singing or playing horns? What are you guys doing? They're like, oh, we got it. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So I trust all these guys.
We will judge that in a few minutes.
Hey, I'm skeptical.
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, you guys are true musicians. Not at all. I'm just kidding. No, it'll be good.
Yeah.
Okay, so and you've been doing this quite a while.
Yes. I started playing music when I was 13. I think it was the summer going into 8th grade. I watched the movie School of Rock
So
a little
many
bit
young
before
boys.
that.
Yes.
And that was just immediate. I needed to play guitar. So for my first about 7 or 8 years, I was strictly a guitar player. That's all I wanted to do. And then kind of transitioned more into singing and writing songs, and then, keyboard and bass a little bit. So
How many different instruments do you play?
three,
Three.
technically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Plus a singer.
Mm-hmm.
So did you? I mean, you saw this movie, School of Rock, which encouraged a lot of kids. Let's.
I would think so.
Yes,
Yeah.
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 For sure. And so at that point, you say, "Hey, Mom. Hey, Dad. I want to go to the School of Rock."
Right.
Because they have several of those around here.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know if that School of Rock Music Academy came out after the movie, because the movie's been out, I think 2002 maybe it came out, or 3. But yeah, it was basically like, Mom and Dad, I really want to start playing guitar, and like the only way we're gonna buy you one is if you take lessons and really learn it. So they did, and fortunately I took lessons for a little bit, and that was my thing for a while. So.
Yeah. At that point, I mean, you're young. It's like, okay, did you know at that point, this is really what I'm going to do? This is my career.
I had a feel. Yeah, it was just so much fun. But I don't think I really knew until maybe about like 15, 16, like a few years later, when I was really practicing every day and just not wanting to do everything else. That's kind of when I transitioned from sports to music. And it progressively got worse at sports and a little bit better at music. So.
Well, you
He's
still have the
being
nickname,
modest.
so you must be still, somewhat good at it.
Yeah.
And a lot of times at those ages, it's like, from what I understand, the boys are like, okay, if I play guitar, I'm going to get some girls too.
I tried to steer away from that as much as possible, because I thought that was just so cringeworthy. And I would see guys kind of like, bringing their acoustic and playing like these sexy
Playing
songs. And yeah,
What'd you say?
yeah, playing Wonderwall, the Oasis classic. Yeah, it's just. I tried to steer away from that as much as possible and kind of just like stick to myself and went in my bedroom and practiced. That was kind of my thing.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Were
to each
you
their own.
writing a lot of songs at that age?
No, I didn't start writing songs until college. I went away my first year to Michigan State, and I kind of started playing there. And I inadvertently got placed in the jazz music dorm, which I didn't even know was a thing. I just tried to be placed in the coolest dorm, because all the freshmen get placed in, it's called Brody Complex, and
yeah,
it just kind of, it's not the greatest. So I was like, I want to be placed in West Circle, where the dorms look like Hogwarts at, Harry Potter. And it was the best location on campus, and I got placed there. And, across the hall from me was an incredible jazz musician. He's in Detroit all the time, goes by Marcus Elliott, real name Marcus Miller. Yeah, so we just started jamming, and
Cool.
And it was a fun time to be around those guys.
It was meant for you to be in that dorm.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool.
Very good. So more inspiration for you. So were you at that point? Well, freshman year, sometimes you don't have a major set, but were you thinking music at that point or no?
No.
Major?
I was going for communications and IT. So just kind of playing music when I had spare time and really focusing more on that. And that kind of led me to leaving Michigan State and coming home, and I finished up at U of M Dearborn, just because I felt that, spending all that money when the majority of my free time was going into practicing music, I'd, might as well save it, stay at home, and just kind of
Yeah.
work it out from there.
Okay. All right. So you have a degree in the IT and
Yes.
okay,
Yes.
business part of it.
Yeah.
Well, you know, you got to know the business side of it too. So
Yeah.
you know,
I guess.
it helps when you got to do all your the web page and all that kind of stuff. So,
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, why don't we hear a song?
Cool. All right. So we're gonna do the first song we're gonna do is called "Hang Tight."
Oh, this was your debut single, right?
This was correct.
Okay.
Yes, this came out in mid December this past year, and yeah, we'll see how
All
it
right.
sounds here.
All right. Getting ready over here.
Want to count it off, Reg?
I got you.
I'm awfully impatient, yeah, that's what I'm told. And I get tired of sitting and waiting for something to take hold. I'm incredibly nervous, and now my face turned red. As you walked in the back room, I needed to have you, and that's when I said, I can feel the rhythm of you, and I know you like to dance. So come on, shake it down, sister. I wanna be your only man. I can feel the rhythm of you, but you better play it cool. And so you gotta slow your roll, brother, if you wanna be my dude. So hang tight, I don't wanna keep you waiting. In hindsight, maybe I was being misleading. So tonight, I just wanna stop debating. Yeah. So hang tight, 'cause it's the best that I can do. You know I'm not ready, I'ma take my time. Commitment is often tough, especially in your prime. So I'ma take the road, let's travel and spend my bread. And I always think of the one night we shared with the moonlight. And that's when you said, I can feel the rhythm of you, and I know you like to dance. So come on, shake it down, sister. I wanna be your only man. I can feel the rhythm of you, but you better play it cool. So you gotta slow your roll, brother, if you wanna be my dude. So hang tight, I don't wanna keep you waiting. In hindsight, maybe I was being misleading. So tonight, I just wanna stop debating. Yeah. So hang tight, 'cause it's the best that I can do. So hang tight, I don't wanna keep you waiting. In hindsight, maybe I was being misleading. So tonight, I just wanna stop debating. Yeah. So hang tight, 'cause it's the best that I can do.
Nice. Hang
Thank
tight, Ryan Neal and gang. I'm saying
And
gang.
yes.
Very nice. Was this one of the songs you wrote up in the cabin?
You were reading the Spotify bio.
Well,
So a part of it, yes. So
Okay.
The way that works is I moved out. I was looking. I came home. I was living in Nashville for a little bit. So I moved home, and I was looking for a cabin to rent for maybe a month or so, just to write as much music as possible in Michigan. And it ended up being very expensive. So I zoomed out on the Airbnb map and was looking all around the states, and I kind of went a little bit further east, and I saw this little piece of land sitting in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, kind of. And I'm like, oh, that's Nova Scotia. And so there's a really cool house for for rent that was
Okay.
extremely cheap, beautiful. I had a lake to myself, and in the middle of the woods. It was unreal. And so I started writing a lot of the songs there and kind of learning how to produce records and getting into Ableton and Logic and things like that. But yes, Hang Tight definitely came from one of those sessions for sure.
And I've heard people do that before. They just need to get away
Mm-hmm.
and just, and nature around them
Yeah.
that really can inspire.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm just trying to imagine you like rowing your keyboards and everything over
Yeah,
there.
so I packed I couldn't see anything. I mean, my car was so full of just, speakers and just all the gear. And so it was a 22-hour trip. I went there the American route, so through Cleveland, New York, Maine, and then crossed into New Brunswick, stayed in New Brunswick for a night, and then took a boat, drove my car onto a boat
Oh, okay.
to get over there.
Okay.
And then I came back like the Montreal route.
And you were there a month, you said?
I was
Or-
planning to be there for a month.
Okay.
And then as it happened, the guy who owned the house, they lived in Costa Rica and they were renting it out. So he needed to do some work on the roof. And he's like, hey, I'm going to come and fix the roof and kind of stay, next to you in this little guest quarters. So I'm like, all right, that's cool. And so he ended up staying for 6 weeks. I thought it was going to take like a week and a half maybe. And he stayed for 6 weeks, and they gave me an additional 6 weeks for free because
Oh,
of that
sweet.
hassle. So I stayed 3 months for the
Not bad.
cost of like a month maybe.
Well, if he was fixing the roof, there's probably some banging and noise. So
There was, but it was nothing really. I mean, he was the nicest guy, this French guy named Jean-Marc, and we hung out, we had campfires, and just had a great time. It was cool.
he's probably enjoying hearing you make music. Just
I try to be pretty respectful. I would go out like kayaking and stuff when he was at the house doing work, and I didn't, even though I was paying, like I didn't want to be too much of a hassle. But
nice.
yeah, it was cool. Definitely.
That's cool.
lifetime
And
experience.
so you were in this great setting.
Mhm.
I mean, from what I hear, it's pretty nice out there.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So do you think your best work came from being so secluded, or not?
I would say the whole thing with that is just I didn't have any distractions. Yeah. So before that, I kind of dabbled into producing and putting things together myself, but I didn't really learn, mixing and all that jazz. So I really just worked as hard as I could, studied, and just trial and error, shot stuff at the wall, see if it worked.
Yeah.
And that's where I learned the most in those 3 months, I think.
Well, with no distractions, you're bound to figure out something, and you know that, someone's not going to walk through the door, or there's, someone needs me for something else. So
Yeah, tried to stay off social media at that time too, and just kind of get out there and be by myself.
well, you've got this opportunity. Yeah. No sense to stay on Facebook for 3
Right.
hours.
Right.
Yeah, great. That's good. I love that, and I hear that. It just you can really get inspired with what your surroundings, pretty much. And,
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
You would think it'd be like a folk record or something, being out there, like very, but
So, how would you classify this record?
I would say there's definitely funk, R&B, and pop influences. Those kind of all make their way into it. That's kind of the music that I've always liked and listened to. I've gone through many different stages, but
Well, I think I read it. Your parents influenced you a lot. The music that they played.
mm-hmm.
And what was that?
Yes. Just neither of them were musicians per se. I mean, my mom played piano a little bit growing up, but just the music they listened to in the car and things growing up really inspired me. And
About 70s classic rock or something.
yeah,
Motown.
60, my dad really loves like anything from like late 50s doo-wop, all the 60s stuff, and my
Yeah.
mom was kind of more late 60s, 70s. So yeah, everything in there.
Good music to be influenced by.
Yeah, definitely.
What's that?
I agree.
Yeah. I love it when parents, just give the kids something, to listen to. It's not like limit that, because you never know what's going to spark something in a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I love when parents, expose kids or take them to concerts, when they're very young and everything.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
Yep.
I love hearing that part of it. It's like, hopefully they have earplugs if they're little, just because.
Yeah, that's
That's the only thing. But yeah, there's just so much. I love when I see little kids at concerts. It just charges me. I was like, yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
There's so much, that they can expose the kids to. You just never know. So that's cool. So, and then you were also the MTV. You grew up in that era. The
Oh, yeah,
MTV,
TRL. Yeah.
Total Request
Request Live.
Yeah.
Request Live.
Was that Carson Daly? or
Carson
something?
Daly.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. Every
That
day
was the
after
start.
school.
Yeah.
Oh,
Literally
my
every
God.
day after school. Come home, my sister was doing dance routines to NSYNC. And I was like, at the time, I was like, man, this is lame. But then in the back of my head, I was like, that's kind of cool. And so I became this underground kind of NSYNC fan that I never let people know.
When you have older sisters, that happens.
It does happen.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Will they know now?
Yeah.
It's out there.
Yeah.
You really couldn't do that back in the day, man. You couldn't be a dude and like NSYNC.
Oh, not at all.
Wow, like
Not at all.
You're like secretly like,
Right, yeah.
in the corner.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, this is lame. Your sister, whatever their names are, it's like, this is
Yeah,
lame.
Emily.
That's funny. Yeah. Taking notes.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. But you just never know. And do
Yeah.
you think all those different MTV videos have influenced you to this day?
I think that the late '90s, kind of early 2000s style of production is very much like hip hop influence, and that's kind of, I'm a child of the '90s, so I love hip hop
Yeah.
and just that style of Max Martin's production and all those guys that were making those huge hits back then. I try to learn from that now and copy some of that stuff.
Do you find yourself listening to music, whenever, the genre or the year that came out, and you like pick it apart for production?
Oh yeah, all the
Thanks.
time. I mean, that's almost an everyday exercise. Like if I'm not feeling it in terms of like writing lyrics or whatever, I'll pull up what I'll do is I'll pull up it's called a DAW, which is like the music software,
Okay.
digital audio workstation, and you pull that up and I'll figure out the beats of a song that I like the beats per minute, and I'll go and chart it out like, okay, 8-bar intro, verse, chorus, bridge, and I'll chart that out and honestly like copy the structure, because you find out that most of them are pretty similar
Yeah.
in terms of pop music and stuff, and just little tricks like when a horn part comes in, or
Cue the horn.
every 16 bars there's something little, like a little glissando on the keys, or just a little bell here,
Yeah.
and try to copy that but make it my own. Don't keep the same chords, but
Right.
structurally.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's all copied. Music's, there's something in a song is, you've probably heard it before, but
Mm-hmm.
again, make the twist, take it so it sounds your own. It's your own style. It's your own sound, but with a little twist to it. So
Mhm.
yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
So do you see yourself more as a producer or a musician? I mean, you have to they go hand in hand, obviously, but down the line, would you like to be, the big producer of?
Yeah, I think in my general nature, just liking to do things myself and not have to like worry about getting other. I love getting other people's influence and involved, but just being a loner by nature, I kind of like being in my little studio by myself and just kind of figuring stuff out. But
Like the mad scientist with a
see.
keyboard,
Yeah, I don't know. It's newer to me than, because I've always played guitar. I've always played music live with people, but this is kind of within the past 2.5, 3 years. I've really been digging into that. And
Well, and plus that'll help your music too, because you understand the other side of it, with the production part of it. So, how about we go to another song?
okay, this one, this is called "Music of My Mind," and that was Stevie Wonder's first solo album after leaving Motown. So I figured that's like one of my biggest influences. So I figured I'd call it that as well. So here we go.
Baby, you stay in perfect time. Baby, you keep the funk alive. You're the music, you're the music, you're the music of my mind. When I was younger, I used to always dream of waking Waking up Christmas morning and strolling through NYC. Snow in Central Park, a limo with my own chauffeur. Feeling like a big shot, Kevin McAllister. And then I realized on Fifth Avenue, millions of people walk by, but none of them look like you. Helpless and alone, two things you never wanna hear. I need love like yours to keep me through until next year. I knew that you'd be true, even when I wasn't with you. So please ignore my selfish ways, and please just stay. So baby, don't slip, slide away. 'Cause I keep feeling all this loneliness without you. I wanna tell you that I'm more than just about you. Baby, you stay in perfect time. Baby, you keep the funk alive. You're the music, you're the music, you're the music of my mind. And 20 years later, I'm feeling the gravity, and life moving twice as fast and getting the best of me. So can you try to make it slow down? 'Cause this anxiety is all around. I wanna feel comfortable, I wanna sing in tune. You bring me sunshine when I'm howling at the moon. You could be the flame and maybe I can be your spark that ignites the feeling deep inside each other's hearts. And I knew that you'd be true, even when I wasn't with you. So please ignore my selfish ways, and please just stay. So baby, don't slip, slide away. 'Cause I keep feeling all this loneliness without you. I wanna tell you that I'm more than just about you. Baby, you stay in perfect time. Baby, you keep the funk alive. You're the music, you're the music, you're the music of my life. This loneliness without you. I wanna tell you that I'm more than just about you. Baby, you stay in perfect time. Baby, you keep the funk alive. You're the music, you're the music, you're the music of my mind. Keep feeling all this loneliness without you. I wanna tell you that I'm more than just about you. Baby, you stay in perfect time. Baby, you keep the funk alive. You're the music, you're the music, you're the music of my life.
That song was written on Hines Drive, if anyone knows where that's at.
What you wrote that on? I'm sorry.
On Hines Drive?
Yeah, Hines Drive. I know Hines Drive.
Yeah. So it was like, I had an album release party coming up, and I didn't have any lyrics to it, so I just drove around with the instrumental, and it was snowing. It was a great snowstorm, and I just drove Hines at like 1:30 in the morning, and just kind of, thought of Home Alone 2 and wrote the lyrics.
Oh, cool! You never know where inspiration comes from. That's a great little stretch of road to.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Is that during the Christmas lights? It has a Christmas vibe to it.
Yeah, it definitely was.
I don't think you can get in. Can you drive that any time during the night? When the lights are on the.
That late, yeah. I think
Oh,
the
okay.
lights. I think they closed it off, and.
Do the lights stay on all the time?
Some of them do. It's weird. They had like the dinosaur that went up, and I don't know why I remember that one, but yeah, that one was on.
For people that aren't familiar with what we're talking about, Hines Drive, they close it off and they do the Wayne County Light Festival every year, and you can pay to just drive through, and it's quite long. There are
Yeah.
quite a few great light structures that
Yeah.
move and animated, and yeah,
It's
it's
nice,
pretty
especially
cool.
when it's snowing. It's cool.
Yeah,
Some
absolutely.
that have been there for like 30 years
Right.
plus. Like they've only changed bulbs.
Yes,
It's-
yes.
Where do they keep all those? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, well, it's Wayne County, so I'm sure it's where they put all the big orange trucks too. It's
Yeah,
all
right.
somewhere. But yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool. Good inspiration. Yeah.
Yeah.
Snow falling. I can just imagine because you felt that in that song. It was so just
Thanks.
kind of relaxing, and I loved it. What was the name of that one again?
The sleigh bells. Yeah.
Sleigh Bells. Yeah. What was the name of that one again?
That was called Music of My Mind.
Okay, nice. Going to the Pam exam.
Cool.
Random questions, and they're geared for you. But if anyone else wants to throw
Yeah,
out a
let's open it
question,
Sure.
just feel free to jump in. Make sure you're on a mic though, so we can hear you.
Yeah.
So, and again, they're very random. So, craziest fan experience.
I don't know if I have one yet. I might pass this along to you guys. I mean, I don't have enough like playing experience live as a solo act to have a following where I would have a crazy fan.
Okay.
Maybe my sister. She's my biggest fan. I don't know if she's
Gotta
crazy.
love
I
family.
concur that.
But
She's at
yeah.
every show.
Yeah, she's at every show, whether it's like I'm playing by myself in a
Aw.
steakhouse in a little corner. She's there all the time. So shout out to Amy. But yeah, do you guys have crazy fans?
No.
I have fans that are crazy.
Reggie has.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not an on-air story.
Okay. Is Amy older, younger?
She's older.
Older.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many siblings do you have?
I have two older sisters.
Okay.
Amy and Emily.
Do they do music?
No.
See, that's
No.
why they follow you everywhere.
Probably. Yeah.
Okay. All right, you have a half or full day to kill in Metro Detroit. What would you do?
What season is it?
Yeah. Good question.
Go ahead.
No, you go first, Reggie.
I'm gonna tell you something right now. Half day chilling in here right here in Metro Detroit. I'll take my butt to Hot Taco right now.
Hot taco.
Smashing. Probably because I'm hungry.
Know where
right
you're
now.
going
That's-
when we're done here.
Yeah, I'm about to say probably because I'm hungry right now. That's exactly where I'm trying to go right after
Hot
this.
taco, yeah.
Right around the corner.
It is round the corner, yeah. I know, yeah.
I'd probably start off the day in the steam room and sauna somewhere. That's kind of my jam.
Okay.
Wake up, hit the sauna real quick. Maybe if it's nice outside, try to go kayaking somewhere. Ann Arbor's usually my spot for that.
Yeah,
But
that's some good.
if I can do it on the Detroit River, it's a little dangerous. But
You could do that off of Belle Isle. They have a
that's right.
they have
Yeah,
a place you can kayak.
You can
Yeah.
kayak through Belle Isle.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
I've never
yeah.
done that yet, but that would be it.
There you go.
Like
Okay.
kayaking.
Makes you forget you're in the city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't see any buildings. It's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, it's one of our little gems that people don't realize. If time and money didn't matter, what would you be doing?
A lot of things.
I would be in the medical field, I think, and I would try to be a neurosurgeon.
Ooh, interesting. Well, that's a step in the opposite direction.
Yeah. Yeah. My life was saved by one when I was 6.
Oh, really?
So I always thought that I would, if music wasn't a part of my life, I would probably go to medical school and try to shoot for that. Very tough. I don't know if,
Do
who
you
knows?
want to share what happened when you were sick?
I had a brain tumor that was
Oh my
causing
gosh.
seizures for a while, and so that was removed luckily, and I'm
Wow.
and I'm fine. I haven't had a seizure since I've been 6. And then 2 years later, they found another one that I'm still living with till this day. So I've been connected to Children's Hospital since I've been 6 years old, and Dr. Kennedy removed it, and she's no longer here. She retired, but yeah. So that
Oh my
was a
goodness.
crazy experience to have it that young, and I kind of. Oddly enough, I enjoyed being in that hospital environment. I thought it was kind of cool because they had a tunnel underneath Children's that there was a Wendy's underneath, and the tunnel connected to the rest of the DMC. And so my parents would take me down in a wheelchair, and we'd go get Wendy's. And I just have the fondest memories of there and the Ronald McDonald House next door and stuff like
Okay.
that. So I think I'd try to do that.
A lot of times when someone has an experience like that, then they want to give back. It's and, I mean, I've been in a hospital and it's like I don't even want to go near being a
Right.
nurse or anything like that. But it's some
Yeah.
like in your case, you had a good experience.
Yeah, I had a
Being
great
at,
experience. Yeah.
well, yeah, wheeling out to Wendy's, you know.
Right. Yeah.
He actually did a great fundraiser at his album release for the Ronald McDonald House,
I love
if I'm
it.
not mistaken. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We raised a bunch of money for him.
Yeah,
so.
we raised a lot of money for the Ronald McDonald House of Michigan, right down the street here.
Cool.
Yeah.
There's a group, and I wish I could remember what it's called, but they actually play for kids in hospitals and stuff like that, and it's like they volunteer, to play a few songs, to go right to their beds. Kids can't even get up or something like that, and I can just see you doing something like that,
Yeah.
because it's already touched you, and you know what they're dealing with, and like that. Well, wow. So quiet.
Yeah. It's a quiet studio.
Yeah, I know. It's after that. If you were a spice, what would you be?
Cardamom.
Turmeric.
Cayenne pepper.
Exactly what I was thinking. I'm spicy. Boy.
What you got?
Everyone's
Cayenne. I'm
Like
good.
basil or something, kind of fresh,
All right.
but like
Makes sense.
nice and green.
we got a lot of spicy ones in here, other than the basil and the
If I ain't
cinnamon.
cayenne pepper, I'm black pepper.
Brown sugar.
There you go. Or that.
Salt.
Very versatile.
Oh my gosh. Black pepper, you're funny. Best kept secret in Metro Detroit.
Music
Does-
Town Studios.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
What about the salt mines under the city?
Oh yeah.
You guys know about that?
Yeah.
Does anyone here know about that besides Pam?
No, not at all.
There's like, do you know about that?
It's like one of the biggest in the country or
It's
something.
crazy. You got to Google image this place. It's
Yeah.
like a city underground
Yeah.
of these salt mines where you can drive semi trucks underneath the city of Detroit, and it's for miles, and like, it's wild.
We have.
I don't know if
there's
it's
your
a sewer
salt.
up?
Yes.
Is it? Can the public go down there at all? Or
I don't know, but I know I know about it. I've heard of it, and
be
I mean,
wild.
people don't realize we have one of the largest salt mines right under our city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a huge salt mine in Windsor as well, and they actually do tours there.
Okay.
So there might be a potential to do them here. I don't know if it's open, but I know in Windsor, like it's massive, like huge salt mine and everything. And I've never done it before, but I know you can do it. So maybe we'll go down there and play a show or
Cool to
something.
like get a little brewery down there.
Exactly.
Yeah, our Canadian friend here,
Yeah.
liaison.
Mateo from Windsor.
Fill in the blank. I wish I could.
Oh my god, that's deep.
Quit my job.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it right here. I wish I could quit my job and do
They
this
might
work.
be listening, man. They might be listening.
They already know.
Can I ask what you
I-
do? What is your job?
I do security for Ally Universal.
Oh, okay.
And it's a good job. I'm very appreciative of it. It's just like I'm really ready to get started
get-
and moving with this full time. So
Okay.
that's all that is.
That's a good goal. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say I wish I could save somebody's life.
Ooh. Wow. Deep.
Hey, that's a deep question.
Yeah,
That's so up and
wow.
down.
That could go many ways. So yeah.
Well, that's not something that you're gonna go looking for.
Right. So looking for, yeah, I guess I.
Push a kid to the
Just
street
like
just to
waiting
save him.
around, like,
Yeah.
But if it happens, great. Oh my gosh. Most memorable music moment.
I saw Stevie Wonder in. So I got tickets on Craigslist the day of. I was living in Nashville at the time, and I saw Stevie Wonder second row for $100. They were like $1,200 tickets.
Wow.
And so I get there and having a great time. It's Aisha's birthday, and he's saying like, "Isn't she lovely?" He started crying. I almost started crying, not gonna lie. And I'm leaving the show, and I'm walking down the aisle to leave, and my buddy, I say what up to my buddy, and next to him is Dave Chappelle, and like we kind of hung out for a little bit. So that was a cool like musical.
Yeah. What a great night.
experience.
Spawn for music and with a night of laughs, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
I had a similar moment with Dave Chappelle actually.
Really?
Wow.
Have we
just-
all met
it's
Dave
connected with Dave Chappelle. He had these like string of shows here in Detroit that were, like didn't go very well. Like remember when
I
they
heard about that.
Yeah,
I remember
just-
that.
They didn't go very well, and he was just like in a rough spot. And he showed up I was at Bert's, which is like the, one of the most institution jazz blues clubs in the city. And there was like jam session on Friday nights at Bert's. And it would go until like 3 in the morning. And it's like 1:30. I'm kind of tired. I'm like, all right, I'll sit in on one more tune and then like I'll go. And there's like, 7 people in there and half of them are musicians, so it's just a jazz musician hang. And Dave Chappelle walks in with double the people that were in the place, and like this huge entourage, and he's just so about the music and is like so into it, and buying drinks for everybody, and like he ends up like spilling a drink on somebody's suit, like one of the musicians, and he's like, oh sorry man, pulls out $400 cash and hands it to him, and like he's asking me, he's like, who's that guy, what's his name? And I'll be like, oh yeah man, that's Butter Hawkins. And he would jump up on the mic and be like, when he finished a solo, and and get his name wrong, he'd be like, Butter Hollins, ladies and gentlemen, and like he'd do it to everybody who showed up. Like, he gets up and they're like, hey, the guy who's running the session was like, it's like, hold on, is that Dave Chappelle? Man, and if you think that you're gonna sit in here and not come up on stage, then you are just mistaken. Like, and he brings him up on stage and like brings him up on stage and he starts like doing a bit. He's just like, Detroit is the real home for music, not New York. It's Detroit. Like he went up and said it, and he sang a few songs. He sang Can I Kick It? Yes you can. Like they started like playing it, and he's like singing that. Everyone's singing with him. I think he sang Isn't She Lovely or something just because he felt like it, and it was cool. He just went up and was just having a good time and like putting his arms around all the musicians, and you could tell he really loved music.
Cool.
There's like jokes where comedians want to be musicians want to be comedians, or like we all think we're funny.
Is that true, guys?
No.
No.
Is there anyone who could command a microphone in any room he walks in other than like more than Dave Chappelle? Because
No way.
I mean, if you're walking in, you're gonna grab a mic and,
Yeah.
and make people laugh.
Yeah. All right. How about we hear another song?
Okay. This last song is called Up My Sleeve. It's the title track to the EP.
Okay.
And yeah, hopefully you enjoy it.
Make it funky. I remember those days too well, before everybody started to kiss and tell. We had a moment of freedom, no phone, but we didn't need them. All we had is each other, my sister and brother, and then we lost control. I feel my body shaking, and I'm losing my mind, but I've got a newfound energy taking a hold of me. Now here is a solution that you already know, so give it time, give it time. I don't wanna let go, so I keep things up my sleeve, and that's where I wanna be, yeah. Up my sleeve, and that's where I feel most free, yeah. Up my sleeve, I'd like to keep things hidden. All my inner visions, they stay with me. Up my sleeve, yeah, I keep it all up my sleeve. Now those days, and they have come and they've gone, but I can see the brightness in the early dawn. I don't need to post this, cause all you want is just a quick fix. Yes, I know. You can mainline all your memories, cause all I need's in front of me. I feel my body shaking, and I'm losing my mind. Crazy. I've got a newfound energy taking a hold of me. Now here is a solution that you already know, so give it time, give it time. I don't wanna let go, so I keep things up my sleeve, and that's where I wanna be, yeah. Up my sleeve, and that's where I feel most free, baby. Up my sleeve, I'd like to keep things hidden, baby. On my That's where I wanna be, yeah, up my sleeve. That's where I feel most free, baby, up my sleeve. I'd like to keep things hidden, all my inhibitions, they're still hiding. Up my sleeve, alright. Now keep it up, keep it up, keep it up my sleeve, yeah. I'd like to keep my privacy, yeah, up my sleeve. Cause I like to keep things hidden. All my inhibitions, they're still hiding up my sleeve. Oh yeah, up my sleeve.
Nice. I love the sound. I love you guys. Love the sound.
Thank you.
Nice vibe.
They
going.
nailed it. This is the first time we really played this together.
I know. That's just,
Actually, yeah.
Congrats to these guys,
Amazing.
man.
Yeah, man.
well, he said he had it. You know, he had it. Yeah, they have it. Awesome stuff. I want you to go around the room and introduce yourselves, if you wouldn't mind doing that, just so. Might as well. While we got you on tape, may as well do that.
Sure. Yeah.
Of course, you're Ryan Neal.
Yes, I'm Ryan Neal.
I'm Rick Maroney.
I am Reggie Williams, Jr.
Mateo Roxandic from Windsor, Ontario, Canada.
Oscar Sosa.
Dave Vasella. Chris Kendall.
Awesome. And so people want to follow you and find your music. Best place.
So RyanNealMusic.com or just RyanNeal_music on Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff.
Okay. And so this new album just came out this past February.
That's correct. Yeah.
You've got another one going, or just
I haven't. Yeah, a lot of songs in the works now.
Okay.
So I'm gonna see if I'm gonna just do like a string of singles, EP, or I don't think I'm gonna wait for an album just because it's gonna take a little bit too long. So I think probably put out a single or two within the next month and then go from there.
yeah, because you'll have to go back to Nova Scotia if you know, or something.
Not this time. I don't think.
Okay. Well, good. All right. So we'll look forward to that, and then
Yeah.
just getting out there and playing. Do you have any gigs coming up? People can go watch.
We have a gig coming up on May 31st at Detroit Shipping Company from 7 to 10, so that should be a fun gig. And we'll probably head out right after because Strictly Fine is playing in Ann Arbor at 11-ish. Is that correct?
11 o'clock, Blind Pig.
11 o'clock, Blind Pig in Ann Arbor. So I'm going to try to double team that. So 7 to 10, Detroit Shipping Company. And then you guys should go check out Strictly Fine as well.
Yeah. 11 o'clock seems late.
Yeah, well, we're the headliner and there's 3 bands.
okay.
So
Okay.
I think the first one plays at 9, the second at 10, and then we're at 11.
Okay.
Bringing it home. Thanks for the plugs, Ryan. You
Yeah, of course. Of course.
appreciate you.
Well, great. Good stuff. And amazing. You guys just kind of jumped in here. You just, a week ago, you met them, and, right? And, yeah. And,
Yeah.
all right. Well,
Music's one of those universal languages, you know?
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
Especially
Yes,
when
it is.
stuff's groovy.
well, and, a good musician.
Wow, that was a.
That's all right.
It's like, Ryan. Okay. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for coming in, guys. It
Thank
sounded
you, Pam,
amazing.
for having
Good
us. I
stuff.
really appreciate
yeah,
it.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming in. I thought I was expecting solo here, and I'm just like, okay, hello.
Surprise.
Yeah,
the
no,
whole-
no
squad,
problem.
yep.
Sounded good. Well, thank you so much. And again, thanks to all of you out there for tuning in and watching. We do appreciate that for another edition of Behind the Mic. And we'll do it again next time. So every week we do this. And I'm Pam Rossi. Have a great week.